And
he lying. Telling a damn lie.
She get mad. Oh, I don't give a fuck. Get mad. She go in the other room, sleeping room. So early that morning, I go in and I snatch the phone from her. Go through the bitch. I see the Snapchat. They talking on Snapchat. It's him. So I go through the messages and shit. See her telling him, "Oh, I'm gonna call you back. I'm on the phone with his mama and all this shit here."
Yeah,
like, now remind you,
this is a nigga.
This is a nigga that used to damn run with me.
He used to run
Long
with
story short.
Long story short.
Hundreds of people were watching when Zarya Carr screamed at her husband live on Facebook. Minutes later, she was dead. I still hear the echo of his voice in that video, crackling through the phone speakers, venom pouring out between clenched teeth as he hissed, "You're gonna make me kill you." Police lights flashed like a storm against the dark Georgia night, red and blue washing over the walls of the modest house where everything fell apart. Somewhere behind that glow, a woman lay lifeless, her body still warm. Zarya's final Facebook post floated across the screen in my mind like a ghost. I really don't know what to do, but I need help before I lose my life or freedom. My kids need me. A piece of yellow crime scene tape fluttered in the wind, blurred and trembling like it couldn't decide whether to shield the secret inside or reveal it to the world. A social media influencer, a controlling husband, a murder broadcast in real time, and 2 children left behind to sift through the ashes of a family that once appeared picture-perfect online. How does a love story turn into a murder-suicide in front of an audience? And could anyone have saved Zarya Carr? Before we continue, tell me, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. It was June 14th, 2025, a sweltering Saturday in Twin City, Georgia, and the day began like any other. I remember scrolling through social media that morning, half asleep, when Zarya Carr's post appeared on my feed. It felt like a ripple cutting across the calm surface of a pond. "I really don't know what to do," she wrote. "But I need help before I lose my life or freedom. My kids need me." At first, I thought it was just another cryptic message people post when they're frustrated, looking for a little sympathy from strangers online. But something about the raw panic behind those words made me stop scrolling. I didn't know then that by nightfall, Zarya would be gone, and her blood would stain the floorboards of the home she'd once shown off proudly in her videos. That afternoon, friends said she was anxious, pacing around the house. She'd been filming short clips for her followers, trying to keep up the facade of a woman in control. But when the cameras stopped rolling, she was crying, checking her phone every few seconds, as though she was waiting for something, or someone, to explode. It was around 8 o'clock that evening when she went live on Facebook. Her face filled the frame, eyes red, voice trembling. She was yelling at Marcus, her husband. The comments started pouring in, hearts and shocked face emojis floating up the screen, but she barely noticed. "You think I'm stupid?" she screamed. "You think I don't know about all those women in your phone? About the money missing? About you following me everywhere I go?" Off camera, Shamarcus's voice was cold, almost eerily calm. "You're going to make me kill you." The words hung in the air like the smell of gunpowder, invisible but lethal. A few viewers typed frantic comments, "Call the police." But others just kept watching, mesmerized by the real-life drama unfolding in front of them. And then, in the background of the video, I thought I heard something strange, a child's voice crying out, "Mommy, stop." For a split second, the angle of the camera shifted, and a small figure stood in the doorway, clutching a stuffed animal, his eyes wide with terror. Zarya's voice cracked as she shouted, "Go to your room. Go." And the screen wobbled violently as though someone had grabbed the phone. For a few seconds, all I could see were blurry streaks of ceiling and walls. There was a loud bang, maybe the phone hitting the floor, and then nothing. The live stream cut off. My heart was pounding in my ears as I stared at the video has ended message. In those moments, I told myself that maybe someone had just shut the phone off. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked. At 9:30 that night, police arrived at Zarya Carr's home. Neighbors said they heard screams and silence. Officers pushed through the door and found her lying face down in the hallway, a dark pool spreading around her head. And here's the part that haunts me most. When officers tried to check her pulse, they found Zarya still clutching the phone she'd used to broadcast her final moments to the world. By 9:30 that night, Zarya Carr's body lay lifeless in the hallway of her home. As I sat staring at my screen, I kept wondering. If you saw a friend live streaming an argument like this, would you call for help? Tell me in the comment section. I used to believe I knew who Zarya Carr was. Everyone did. She went by Duchess Dior online, a name that sparkled as brightly as her smile. On TikTok, she'd dance in flawless makeup, her hair laid perfect, her nails a kaleidoscope of colors. On Facebook, she'd post funny skits about motherhood, lip-sync to trending sounds, and flash her engagement ring like it was a badge of honor. Her videos were slick and polished. The captions were full of laughing emojis, hashtags like mom boss and blessed. If you only looked at her timeline, you'd think her life was a highlight reel of joy. But social media is a funny thing. It shows you what people want you to see and hides everything else in the shadows. Zarya was a mother of 2 beautiful kids, a son barely old enough to start kindergarten, and a baby girl with giant eyes who often appeared in the background of her live streams, giggling and blowing kisses into the camera. People adored how Zarya balanced her mom life and influencer life. She'd film a beauty tutorial in one breath and break up a sibling squabble in the next. And yet, whenever I rewatch those old videos, I see things differently now. I noticed how sometimes, right before she'd flash that dazzling smile, she'd take a deep breath, like she was steeling herself for the performance. How her eyes seemed a little hollow, as though her mind was somewhere far away. Friends who knew Zarya offline describe her as a force of nature, loud, hilarious, ambitious. She wanted to launch her makeup line. She dreamed of buying a bigger house and traveling the world. But behind the scenes, they say, Zarya was unraveling. One friend told investigators Zarya had become jumpy in the past year, checking the blinds every few minutes to see if Marcus was outside. Sometimes she'd show up at her friend's house in tears, insisting she needed to stay there for the night. Other times, she'd go silent for days, refusing to answer texts. And there was a moment I'll never forget. A few months before her death, Zarya posted a TikTok set to a popular audio clip. People think I'm okay, but I'm not okay. She was lip-syncing the words, half smiling, eyes shining with unshed tears. Everyone thought it was just a trend. I did too. We laughed. We hit like. And we kept scrolling. But maybe that was her way of screaming for help in a language only some people could hear. She looked unstoppable online. But privately, Zarya was desperate to escape. As I pieced together the fragments of her digital life, I keep asking myself one question. How many signs were there that we all ignored? Please share your thoughts below. The first time I saw Marcus Carr, he was in one of Zarya's older videos, leaning against the doorframe with that crooked grin that made people think he was smooth. He was older than her. Almost 10 years, he went by the nickname, the Frenchman, a name that sounded romantic until you realized it came not from some trip to Paris, but from his reputation for being slick, persuasive, and just a little too calculated. Zarya's followers adored him at first. He played the part of the doting husband, making surprise cameos in her live streams, kissing her forehead while she filmed, showing up with flowers just because. He even called her his queen on camera, though now I wonder if that word meant something very different to him behind closed doors. Friends who met him early on said he was magnetic, the kind of guy who shook your hand and looked you dead in the eyes, like he could see through you. He was generous at first, buying Zarya gifts, helping with her kids, promising to help her grow her brand. He told her he believed in her more than anyone ever had. But then something shifted, and it was subtle at first. One friend told investigators there was a dinner party where Zarya showed up alone. When asked where Marcus was, she said casually, "He doesn't like when I go out too much without him." Another time, she canceled a girls' night last minute, saying she didn't want to deal with drama at home. That was the beginning of the isolation. He stopped letting her spend time with certain friends, especially any who encouraged her to be independent. He'd take over her live streams, interrupt her videos, and sometimes he'd read her comments aloud in a mocking tone, accusing her of flirting with fans. Behind the scenes, people started noticing bruises. Once, Zarya claimed she'd fallen down the stairs. Another time, she said she'd bumped into a cabinet. No one questioned it directly. After all, she was still smiling, still posting, still saying everything was fine. And then came the pregnancy scare. A mutual acquaintance, someone close to Zarya, told investigators something that's haunted me ever since. She said Zarya had called her in a panic one night, sobbing uncontrollably. She'd taken a test and thought she was pregnant again. Not with joy, but with terror. He told me if I ever tried to leave him with his child, Zarya allegedly whispered over the phone, he'd take them from me. He said he'd ruin my life. He said I'd never see them again. That night, she didn't go home. But she did the next morning. She always went back. And there's a deeper twist most people don't know. Marcus wasn't just controlling, he was watching. One of Zarya's close friends claims he installed tracking software on her phone. Another said he would show up unannounced at salons, stores, and even her photo shoots. Once, during a live stream, Zarya was mid-laugh when she suddenly went silent. Her eyes darted off the camera. Seconds later, the screen went black. She didn't post again for 3 days. People chalked it up to tech issues, maybe a bad day. But now it reads like a warning. Like the quiet moment in a horror movie before everything goes wrong. What haunts me most is how quickly charm can turn into control. 1 minute, you're being swept off your feet. The next, you're walking on eggshells in your own home. And I keep wondering, why is it so hard to leave someone who becomes controlling? Is it fear? Guilt? Love? Or is it that, by the time you realize the trap is real, you're already caught? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Sometimes, when I can't sleep, I scroll back through Zarya's old social media posts, reading them like a detective looking for clues at the scene of a crime. And every time I do, the same thought circles my brain. How many warning signs did we all miss because we didn't want to believe what we were seeing? In the months leading up to her death, Zarya's pages were littered with posts that, at first glance, seemed like nothing. Little cries for help disguised as vague statuses. One day she wrote, "Pray for me," no details. No explanation. Hundreds of comments poured in. People typing, sending prayers, and heart emojis. Then the conversation moved on. A few weeks later, another post said simply, "I just want peace." Some thought she was talking about online trolls. Others thought it was mom's stress or just a bad day. But if you read between the lines, there was an edge of desperation there, a quiet terror humming underneath her words. Her friends started noticing how unpredictable she'd become. One moment, she was cracking jokes and planning business ventures. The next, she'd vanish into silence. But the thing that chills me the most is the live streams, the ones before that final, deadly broadcast. There's one from a few months earlier where Zarya was filming a hair tutorial. She was mid-sentence, laughing about edges and gel when her eyes darted off camera. Her smile dropped so fast it looked like a mask sliding off. Shamarcus's voice cut in sharply. "Who the F are you texting while you're live?" Asterisk. Zarya quickly stammered. "Nobody, baby. I'm just filming." He stepped into the frame, towering over her, wearing a cold smile. I said, "Who the F are you texting?" Asterisk. The chat went wild, viewers spamming comments. "OMG, is this a skit? Girl, blink twice if you're in danger." But Zarya forced a grin and ended the stream. She came back the next day as if nothing had happened, posting a makeup haul and telling everyone she and her man were good. Another friend said Zarya confessed there were days she was afraid to sleep. She said Shamarcus would stand over her bed at night, accusing her of secrets she never even thought of keeping. He'd check her phone, her emails, her DMs. Once, he even accused her of hiding money from him in a secret bank account. And yet, Zarya kept posting. She kept performing. Because in her world, the worst thing she could imagine was letting people know that Duchess Dior, the unstoppable, unbothered influencer, was living in fear of the man she once called her king. The twisted thing is, even as I watched those old videos, even as I heard the tension in her voice and saw the way she flinched when Shamarcus spoke, a part of me still wondered, maybe it's just drama. Maybe it's not that serious. Because that's how domestic violence hides, in plain sight, cloaked in the ordinary. It looks like a couple having a bad day. It sounds like a joke gone too far. Its bruises were explained away by a clumsy fall. Its silence masquerading as privacy. But the signs were there. The pleas for help were there. And yet, somehow, nobody, or maybe all of us, failed to truly hear her. Sometimes I wonder, what would have happened if someone had called the police during one of those live streams? Would Zarya still be alive today? What do you think? Let's go back to the live stream that ruined everything. Zarya was sitting in her living room, hair slightly messy, mascara smudged under her eyes. She wasn't wearing her usual bright lipstick. She wasn't smiling. She was shaking when Shamarcus's voice came from off-camera, a low rumble like distant thunder. "So you think you're slick, huh?" he said. You think I don't know what you've been doing behind my back? Zarya stared directly into the camera, as if pleading silently with every person watching. I'm not doing anything. You just want to believe your lies because you can't stand the idea of me leaving you. Marcus stepped into the frame, looming over her. His eyes were wild, darting between her and the phone as if he couldn't decide which was more of a threat. He pointed a finger so close to her face that I thought he might hit her right there, live in front of everyone watching. Tell them about all the niggas texting your phone. Asterisk, he shouted. Tell them about the Cash App notifications. Tell them you've been a host since day one. Zarya jerked back. You're lying, she screamed, voice rising. All I ever did was love you. I'm tired of you accusing me of shit I never did. At that moment, the comments section exploded. People typed so fast the words blurred. Call the cops. Girl, get out of there. This ain't entertainment, this is abuse. But there were others too. People egging it on, calling it juicy tea, demanding she spill the details. That's the cruel paradox of social media. Tragedy and spectacle get treated the same. Then Marcus dropped his voice to a deadly calm. You're gonna make me kill you. The way he said it, so casual, so certain, made my blood run cold. I froze, phone clutched in my hands. Zarya's voice grew shrill. Go ahead and do it. I'm not scared of you no more. She pushed him back, and for a split second, the camera caught a glimpse of his hand grabbing something shiny at his waistband. A gun. Zarya was sobbing, screaming now. My kids are in the house, Marcus. My kids. And in the background, a tiny voice cried out, Mommy. That sound, the child's voice, was the worst part. It was the sound of innocence shattering. Suddenly, the phone dropped. The camera spun wildly, flashing glimpses of the ceiling, the coffee table, and the carpet. Shouts echoed off the walls. And then there was a single, muffled pop. For a moment, there was only silence. And then, the screen went black. Zarya's voice rose, until the screen went black. When I saw this video, I couldn't stop staring at my phone, the glow of the screen fading into darkness. Part of me wanted to believe it was a prank, some horrible skit. But deep down I knew. I think everyone watching knew. And the twisted thing is, the live stream stayed up for hours. People kept sharing it, commenting, speculating. Some begged Facebook to remove it. Others downloaded it to repost on gossip pages. A woman was murdered on camera, and for a while, it felt like entertainment to the rest of the world. And so I keep asking myself, should social media platforms intervene when a live stream becomes violent? Or do they owe it to us to let us see the truth, even if it costs someone their life? What do you think? The house on South Railroad Avenue was still echoing with chaos when Marcus' car disappeared into the night. By the time the police stormed through the front door, Zarya lay unmoving in the hallway, blood pooling beneath her. Her children were crying somewhere in the house. Those small, broken cries that sounded less like sobs and more like confusion, as if their young minds couldn't comprehend how their entire world had just changed in a single gunshot. And Marcus was gone. Witnesses said they saw him run out the back door, clutching a gun and a set of keys. Others claimed he was talking to himself, cursing, shaking his head as though trying to erase what he'd just done. He climbed into his black Dodge Challenger, a car that had once been his pride and joy. In happier days, he used to pose beside it for Instagram photos, the glossy paint shining like liquid obsidian under George's sun. But that night, the Challenger became a getaway vehicle. Law enforcement issued an alert almost immediately. They blasted his name across radios and police scanners. Officers from surrounding counties joined in the search, fanning out across highways and back roads. The manhunt was swift but complicated by the late hour and the winding Georgia roads that cut through fields and forests like dark veins. For hours, there were only glimpses. A gas station attendant said he saw a man matching Marcus's description filling up the tank and wiping sweat from his face. A highway patrol officer thought he spotted the Challenger speeding east, but by the time he caught up, the car had vanished again. But here's where the story takes another twist, one that still sends shivers through me whenever I think about it. At around 11 p.m., officers traced Marcus's cell phone signal to Wayne County, over an hour away from Twin City. They found the Challenger parked off a rural dirt road, hidden partially behind a cluster of pine trees. The engine was still warm. When they approached the car, guns drawn, they shouted for him to get out. But there was no response. Just silence, thick and unnatural, broken only by the chirping of insects in the dark. An officer crept closer, flashlights slicing through the shadows. And that's when he saw the blood. Inside the Challenger, slumped against the driver's seat, was Zarya Carr. A single gunshot wound to the head. His eyes were open, staring blankly at the ceiling of the car. He'd ended his life before the law, or anyone else, could hold him accountable. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation later released a statement confirming his death. They said there was no sign of anyone else involved. No final note. No explanation. Just the same, endless question left behind in the silence. Why? And yet, a rumor still lingers among people who knew them. Some say Zarya called someone before he pulled the trigger, a relative, a friend, maybe even one of the same people he once accused Zarya of talking to. But no one knows what he said, or if it will ever come to light. Police have never confirmed it publicly. So the man who promised Zarya he'd rather kill her than let her go died alone, leaving behind a scene as tragic and senseless as the murder he committed. And all I could think was this: justice didn't come for Zarya that night. It ran off into the darkness, as fleeting and unreachable as Shamarcus's taillights fading down the highway. Whenever I tell this story, I keep coming back to one image: the children. Because for all the horror that played out on camera, for all the blood and chaos and sirens, there are two small lives caught in the wreckage. Zarya and Shamarcus had two kids. A little boy, barely old enough for kindergarten, with his mother's bright eyes and his father's stubborn chin. And a baby girl who still wore pigtails tied with tiny pink bows, who'd giggle and wave whenever Zarya's camera turned her way. In so many of Zarya's old videos, the kids are there in the background, tumbling across the couch, squealing with laughter, climbing into her lap. She'd hush them gently, still smiling for her audience, as though trying to hold her family together with one trembling hand while performing for the world with the other. But now those kids are orphans. After the shootings, relatives on both sides stepped forward, each insisting they could give the children a stable home. Zarya's family argued that Shamarcus's relatives were too close to the man who caused the tragedy. Shamarcus's side pushed back, saying they were just as shocked as everyone else, that the children were part of their blood, too. And so the custody battle began. Court filings, social workers, emergency hearings behind closed doors. Papers filled with words like best interest of the child, words that look neat and professional on a page, but in real life mean long nights of tears, confusion, and kids asking questions no one wants to answer. Because how do you tell a 5-year-old that the man who used to carry him on his shoulders is gone? Because he killed mommy. How do you explain why mommy's not coming home, or why her laughter has been replaced by silence? There's another layer to all this that nobody talks about. Trauma has a way of passing down like an inheritance. One of Zarya's friends told investigators the boy has nightmares now. He sometimes wakes up screaming for his mother. The little girl, too young to understand, keeps pointing to photos of Zarya and saying, "Mommy phone. Mommy video." They'll grow up someday. They'll Google their parents' names. They'll see the news headlines, the endless true crime podcasts, the videos dissecting every detail of that live stream. And they'll be left with one question echoing in the hollow spaces of their lives. Why? Why did Daddy do it? Why didn't anyone save Mommy? Why did love turn into death? And every time I think about those children, it guts me in a way I can't fully explain. Because no matter how many views or shares or hashtags this story gets, two innocent kids are the ones who pay the highest price. How do you explain something like this to a child? Please share your thoughts below. Social media shows us people's best moments, smiling selfies, family vacations, birthdays, anniversaries. It's a world where filters blur imperfections, where captions turn chaos into humor, and where even pain is often packaged in a way that makes it easier for everyone else to keep scrolling. But sometimes, behind those carefully crafted images, social media hides deadly secrets. Zarya tried to speak up. In posts, in live streams, in whispers between friends. She dropped clues like breadcrumbs, hoping someone, anyone, would follow the trail and pull her out of the darkness. But the truth is, the world watched her story unfold in real time. And somehow, even as her cries for help played out on screens across the country, no one was able to stop the ending we're left with today. And that's what haunts me the most. Because we think we'd recognize danger if we saw it. We tell ourselves we'd call the police, we'd intervene, we'd save someone like Zarya. But the reality is far messier and far quieter than we want to admit. Sometimes the signs are there, right in front of us, but we doubt ourselves. We worry we're overreacting, or we tell ourselves it's none of our business. So I keep coming back to one question that refuses to leave me. Do you believe people could have saved Zarya? Or was it already too late? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Because maybe, just maybe, if we keep talking about stories like Zarya's, if we listen a little closer, if we refuse to look away, we can stop someone else's nightmare before it happens. Thank you for staying with me through Zarya's story. Stay safe, stay aware, and see you in my next video.